Relax, no one's showing up. Just minutes before my wedding, that was the text my little sister sent me. 2 seconds later, another one buzzed in. We're all at my engagement dinner instead. I was standing in a tiny prep room at the back of the vineyard, staring at my phone, veil pinned halfway into my hair, lipstick still uncapped on the table. For a full 10 seconds, I honestly thought I was reading it wrong. Then my screen lit up again. This time from my mom. By the way, I used your card, all $500. Pop some more on it. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I just typed back one word. Understood. That night, I said my vows in front of 47 empty chairs. And at 3:00 a.m., still in my rumpled wedding dress, I sent a single link into the family group chat with one line. You're going to want to watch this before Grandpa sees it. Let me back up. My name is Irma Holford. I'm 33, an IT contractor who mostly works with small businesses. Nothing glamorous. I'm the woman people call when their server panics or their billing system locks them out on a Friday. I make decent money, set my own hours, and up until recently, I thought I understood my place in my family. I wasn't the star, I was the support beam. The star has always been my younger sister, Rachel. Rachel is the kind of person people notice when she walks into a room. Dark hair, just messy enough to look intentional. Loud laugh, big stories, dramatic hand gestures. She's the fun one, the beautiful one, the one with such a bright future. Growing up, it was little things. If I came home with an A, Mom would say, "Good job, honey," while loading the dishwasher. If Rachel got an A, Mom would post it on Facebook with a paragraph and 3 crying emojis. If I got a B+, Dad would murmur, "Maybe try harder next semester," without looking up from the TV. If Rachel bombed a quiz, Mom would blame the teacher, the curriculum, the alignment of the planets. When I fixed Mom's laptop at 13, I got, "Oh good, Irma handled it." When Rachel updated her Instagram bio at 19, Mom called me to talk about it for 40 minutes. By the time we were adults, the favoritism wasn't subtle. Rachel got a marketing job at a boutique PR firm downtown. I landed a long-term contract doing back-end systems for a medical supply company. My job paid better, had benefits, and came with actual responsibility. Guess who got a congratulations dinner with champagne? Hint, not the one configuring databases. The money stuff got ugly fast. Rachel maxed her first credit card at 23. Dad paid it off to protect her credit. She got fired from her second job for skipping too many days. Mom called it a toxic workplace that didn't value creativity. When Rachel wanted to lease a luxury SUV on an entry-level salary, they didn't say no. They asked me to co-sign. "It's just for a year," Rachel promised, twirling her hair around her finger, "until I get promoted." That was 4 years ago. She never got promoted. I was the one quietly getting the monthly statements. It's not like I had money to burn. I live in a modest apartment. I drive a 10-year-old Honda that rattles when the AC is on too high. I meal prep on Sundays. Every leftover dollar went into savings labeled in my head as, "This is for your future, for your boyfriend, for your home, for your wedding, for your life." My boyfriend Daniel knew about most of it. He wasn't thrilled. "You don't have to keep rescuing them," he'd say gently, stirring pasta in my tiny kitchen. "You're allowed to say no." "It's just family," I'd reply automatically. "They'll come around." God, I wish I hadn't believed that. Daniel is the kind of man you assume doesn't exist outside of movies. He's quiet but attentive, remembers how you take your coffee, writes thank you notes to baristas, brings extra snacks on road trips in case someone forgets theirs. He's a civil engineer, steady in a way that makes the world feel less wobbly. When he proposed last year, it was in the least Instagrammable way possible, on my living room floor between pizza boxes and laundry baskets. He held out a simple ring and said, voice shaking, "Irma, I love you. I want to build a boring, solid, beautiful life with you." I said yes before he finished the sentence. We decided on a small wedding. 50 people, tops, close friends, some extended family. A little vineyard, an hour outside the city that smelled like earth and citrus and late afternoons. Not a church, not a ballroom, not a giant production. Just us, our people, and sunset. My parents were polite. "That's nice," Mom said when I told her the plan. "You sure you don't want a proper church wedding?" Rachel laughed over speakerphone. "So you're doing like a picnic wedding? That's cute." I let it slide, I always did. The plan was simple. Ceremony at 4, dinner by sunset. My friend Jake would DJ. Daniel's cousin would handle the flowers. We rented 50 chairs. It felt manageable, grounded, ours. Mom promised she'd arrive early to help set up. Dad said he was honored to walk me down the aisle. Rachel volunteered for the cake, because of course she did. "Send me the money and I'll place the order," she said. "I know a girl who does these incredible rustic cakes. It'll be like aesthetic." We sent her $480 from the wedding fund. Weeks went by. I asked for the receipt. She said she'd text it. She didn't. One night, Daniel and I were going through our email confirmations for vendors, and he frowned. "Hey, Irma, is this the cake invoice?" It was, and at the bottom, it didn't say paid. It said refunded. Rachel hadn't ordered the cake. She'd refunded the money to herself and spent it on a spa day with her friends. She didn't even bother to deny it when I called. "Look, I was stressed," she sighed. "You know how it is. And honestly, no one eats cake at weddings, Irma. Just get cupcakes or something from Costco." I remember standing in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, staring at the fridge where our venue confirmation was magneted in place. I remember feeling something in my chest quietly fold in on itself. I should have uninvited her that night. I didn't, because some part of me was still clinging to this pathetic, fragile fantasy that on the one day that truly mattered to me, my family, selfish, dramatic, blind, would show up. Then came the bridal shower. Rachel arrived in white. Not cream, not champagne, not blush. White. Fitted dress, sweetheart neckline, white heels, white clutch. It was practically a wedding gown. People stared. Someone whispered. One of my friends actually asked her if she'd misread the invitation. Rachel just laughed and said, "Relax, it's not that deep." Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. I kept my smile glued on. I hugged everyone. I opened gifts. I thanked them for dish towels and wine glasses and gift cards. When we got home, I went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. "I just wanted one day," I whispered into my own hands. One day where I wasn't an extra in my own life. I sat on the bath mat. Daniel sat on the floor outside the door. "Say the word," he murmured through the wood. "We can elope tomorrow. I'll marry you at City Hall in jeans." "We've already paid deposits," I said. "They'll come. They have to." Wedding morning arrived, soft and golden. I woke up in the hotel to sunlight spilling through the blinds. Daniel was in a separate room with his friends, so it was just me, my dress, and a tight little knot in my stomach. By 10, I'd had my hair and makeup done. By noon, Daniel texted me a photo of the arch with flowers on it. "Looks perfect. Can't wait to see you." By 2:30, guests started trickling in. My friends, his coworkers, a couple of my cousins. Laughter floated in through the cracked window. The officiant checked his watch. The photographer snapped pictures of my shoes, my bouquet, my nervous half-smile. At 3:30, I noticed something. The 3 rows we'd set aside for my family were empty. No mom, no dad, no Rachel. I told myself they were just late. Traffic, makeup, some last-minute disaster with Rachel's hair extensions. At 3:45, my palms were slick with sweat. The officiant poked his head into the bridal suite. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yes," I lied. "We're just waiting on a few people." At 3:55, I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers and texted Rachel. "Ite?" The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, came back. Then her message. "Relax, no one's coming." My body went cold. I stared at those 4 words until they blurred. Another text buzzed in before I could respond. "We're all at my engagement dinner instead." My throat closed. I didn't even know she'd set an exact date. No one had told me. No one thought I needed to know. Then Mom chimed in. "By the way, I used your card, all $500. Pop some more on it." For the venue, I realized. For the food. For the drinks. For whatever spectacle they were throwing across town while my chairs sat empty. I don't remember deciding what to do next. I just remember my fingers moving. "Understood." I set the phone down. I looked at myself in the mirror. Full makeup, veil, lace, eyes too bright. I looked like a bride in a commercial, not someone whose family had just abandoned her on the biggest day of her life. The officiant knocked again. "Irma," he said gently, "are we ready?" I took one breath. Then another. "Yes," I said, "we are." I walked down the aisle alone, holding my own bouquet. 47 sets of eyes watched me, and then they shifted to Daniel, standing under the arch with his jaw clenched just a little too tight. He didn't look at the empty chairs. He only looked at me. We said our vows with half the seats vacant and the sun painting everything in gold like it was mocking us. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Daniel's hands shook against my face. "I'm so sorry," he whispered into my hair. "This isn't your fault," I whispered back. People clapped. Cameras flashed. We cut the emergency cake Daniel had ordered last minute because Rachel never replaced the one she canceled. We danced. Jake played music. We smiled until our faces hurt. At 9 p.m., it was over. Back at the hotel, I kicked off my shoes and sat on the edge of the bed in my dress. Daniel went to wash his face. My phone buzzed. Rachel had posted an Instagram story. Her in a white dress, shorter, sparkly, standing next to her fiancé at a rooftop bar, engaged, in looping letters. My parents stood behind them, glasses raised, beaming. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone. I just felt something inside me go very, very quiet. The kind of quiet that comes right before a storm. The hotel room was dim, except for the soft glow from the bathroom door. Daniel was humming under his breath, some nervous habit of his, while washing the last of the wedding makeup off his face. I sat perfectly still on the edge of the bed, veil half slipped off, dress wrinkled and heavy around my legs. My phone, still open to Rachel's Instagram story, buzzed again, lighting up with notifications like tiny sparks. My family celebrating. My family smiling. My family raising glasses under twinkling rooftop lights. My family, who couldn't give me a single hour on the most important day of my life. Something inside me locked into place. It wasn't anger, not yet. Just a strange, icy clarity. I reached over, closed the Instagram app, opened my laptop, and logged into my YouTube account. Most people didn't know I had one. I'd started it during lockdown. Tech tutorials, little skits, some troubleshooting videos, random vlogs. Nothing huge, but enough. Enough for a little income, enough for a platform, enough to tell the truth. I stared at the record button for a long moment. Daniel stepped out of the bathroom, towel around his neck, face softening when he saw me. "Hey," he said gently, "come here. Let's get you out of that dress." "In a minute," I murmured. He frowned. "Irma, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because if I said even one word right then, I knew my voice would crack. I hit record. The webcam light blinked on, and there I was on the screen, mascara smudged, lipstick faded, veil slipping, exhaustion carved into the angles of my face. Not a glamorous bride, just a woman who had finally reached the end of her rope. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't cry, I didn't dramatize anything. My voice stayed level, steady, eerily calm. Today was my wedding day. My family didn't show up. They went to my sister's engagement dinner instead. I showed the texts. I showed the receipts. I showed the $5,100 charge on my card from my mom. I showed the refunded cake invoice. I showed screenshots of the bridal shower photo, Rachel in white. I showed the years of co-signed loans and quiet sacrifices. I showed everything. And then I said the thing that had been building in my chest for years. This isn't revenge. This is clarity. I'm done pretending my sister's behavior is normal. I'm done being told to keep the peace. I'm done paying for their messes. I'm done being invisible. If they want to know why, here it is. The truth. 12 minutes. That's all it was. When I finished, I hovered over the public button. Stopped. Took a breath. Selected unlisted instead. Then I copied the link. Opened the family group chat. Typed one line. "You'll want to watch this before Grandpa sees it." Pasted the link. Hit send. Then shut my laptop and finally let myself breathe. Daniel crossed the room slowly, like I was a wounded animal he didn't want to startle. "Are you okay?" he whispered. "I don't know," I said honestly. He nodded, sat beside me, and held my hand without saying another word. We crawled into bed, still wearing half our wedding clothes, and fell asleep like two people who survived a quiet kind of disaster. Morning sunlight sliced across the room when I opened my eyes. My dress was draped across a chair. Daniel was still asleep beside me. My phone was not. It was vibrating in frantic bursts. 53 missed notifications. 30 texts from Rachel. 8 from Mom. 5 from Dad. 6 from cousins. Several from numbers I didn't even recognize. The family group chat had over 100 new messages. I opened the chat. The text flood was chaotic. "Dad, take that video down immediately." Mom, "Irma, this was unfair and unnecessary." Rachel, "I cannot believe you embarrassed me like this. On my engagement? You're sick." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I closed the chat instead. I wasn't doing this again. Not the justifying, not the defending, not the quiet swallowing of hurt like I'd done my whole life. Daniel stirred beside me. "You okay?" "I posted a video," I said. He rubbed his eyes. "Irma, what kind of video?" "A truthful one." He blinked. "Okay, then we'll deal with whatever comes." The whatever came fast. By noon, the video wasn't just being watched by my family. It was being shared. People posted it on Reddit, on TikTok, on Twitter. A creator stitched the clip of me sitting alone in the bridal suite and said, "This is emotional abuse. This is what favoritism looks like in adulthood." By the end of the day, my channel jumped from 68K subscribers to over 120K. The comments were overwhelming. This is brutal. I'm so sorry. Your sister is jealous, plain and simple. You deserve so much better. Daniel is a keeper. I cried watching this. Thank you for speaking up. Meanwhile, Rachel locked her Instagram. Mom deleted half her posts. Dad stopped replying entirely. Extended relatives chimed in. Aunt Marie said Rachel didn't mean harm. Uncle Paul said I took things too far. My cousin Elena commented under the video. Irma, I'm so proud of you. This needed to be said. And then my phone rang. My grandfather. He never called me. Not directly. Ever. I froze. Daniel paused mid-step and looked at me. Answer it, he whispered. I did. Irma, Grandpa's voice trembled. Honey, I watched it. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry, I whispered, because that's what I'd always done. Grandpa inhaled sharply. Don't you apologize. Not for this. I always suspected they treated you differently. But seeing it, hearing it in your voice, he broke. He actually broke on the phone. You didn't deserve any of that, he said. You deserve to be celebrated, not used, not erased. I felt something shift inside me, something warm, painful, real. Grandpa wasn't dramatic. He wasn't emotional. If anything, he was blunt to a fault. Hearing him sound heartbroken shattered something in me I didn't even know was still intact. He continued softly, I sent you a little something. It's not much. Just use it for your happiness, not theirs. A payment notification flashed across my screen. $5,000. I cried for the first time since the wedding. Not because of the money, but because it was the first time in years someone in my family had chosen me. After we hung up, Daniel wrapped his arms around me and kissed the top of my head. We're going away, he said with quiet resolve. No phones, no drama, just us. We drove to a rental cabin that afternoon. No Wi-Fi, no signal, just pine trees and silence, and a fireplace we struggled to light. I slept for 12 hours straight, curled against Daniel's chest, dreams soft and empty. For once, peace did not feel guilty. For once, silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like the beginning of something new, and maybe the end of something old. When we drove back from the cabin 2 days later, the world felt different. Not calmer, just clearer, like the fog of obligation had finally lifted and what remained was sharp, unmistakable truth. My phone reconnected to Wi-Fi the moment we pulled into our parking spot. Notifications poured in like an avalanche. DMs, tags, news alerts, YouTube comments, messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Daniel glanced over as I stared at the screen. Don't, he said softly. Not yet. Let's get inside first. We unpacked in silence. The apartment felt strangely untouched, like time had paused while everything else imploded. When I finally opened my phone, the fallout was in full wildfire mode. Family fallout, phase 2. Rachel had posted a 3-slide Instagram story before locking her account. People don't know the real story. Internet bullies are ruining my mental health. My sister is unstable. Classic Rachel. Zero accountability, maximum dramatics. Mom group texted, Your video is destroying our family. You need to take responsibility. Dad wrote, Taking this public was unnecessary. We could have handled it privately. Could we? After years of being silenced? Cousin Sarah messaged, You did the right thing. Rachel's been awful for years. Aunt Marie messaged, Family matters should stay within family. Uncle Paul messaged, You embarrassed everyone. It was like watching 100 people argue in a burning house while I stood outside holding a bucket of gasoline they'd handed me. I didn't reply to any of them. Not one. Instead, I made myself a cup of tea and sat on the couch while Daniel scrolled through his own phone. Irma, he said, You're trending. I choked on my tea. What? He turned the screen toward me. A clip from my video, me staring into the camera with the caption, Bride abandoned by family on her wedding day. Watch her reaction. Over 2.3 million views. Comment sections filled with disbelief, heartbreak, anger, solidarity. Someone wrote, Irma Holford is the bravest person on this app. Another, Imagine skipping your own sister's wedding for an engagement dinner. Another, Rachel is jealous, plain and simple. And my favorite, Daniel is a national treasure. I laughed through my nose. He really is. Daniel grinned and kissed my forehead. But the laughter didn't last. Not when the doorbell rang. Dad shows up. Daniel's body went tense. He stood up. I'll answer, he said. But I shook my head. No, I need to. When I opened the door, my father was standing there in a wrinkled button-down, hair uncombed, eyes red like he hadn't slept. Irma, he said, voice low, can we talk? I crossed my arms. About what, Dad? He exhaled sharply. Your video. You hurt a lot of people. My jaw tightened. I hurt people? I repeated. Dad, I said my vows in front of empty chairs. That was Rachel's idea, he snapped quickly. Not mine. But you didn't stop it. He opened his mouth, closed it. Then he said the line I think he'd prepared in the car. I didn't know what Rachel was planning. My throat went cold. You've been making that excuse my whole life, I said quietly. Whenever she took from me, humiliated me, blamed me, stole from me, you were always in the middle, weren't you? His lips pressed into a thin line. Irma, you grew up. You moved out. You became successful. Rachel, she always struggled. We were trying to support her. At my expense, I said, always at my expense. He didn't deny it. He didn't apologize. He just looked tired. We're family, he said. We need to make this right. I shook my head slowly. No, Dad, you need to make things right. But you can still be Rachel's father. He blinked. What does that mean? It means, I said, voice steady, you're no longer mine. He stood there like I'd slapped him. Then he turned and walked away. I closed the door and leaned against it, trembling. Daniel wrapped his arms around me from behind, pressing his cheek to my temple. I'm proud of you, he whispered. I didn't feel proud. Not yet. Just emptied out. The final letting go. Over the next few months, the chaos kept spiraling, but away from me. Friends unfollowed Rachel. Cousins took sides. Older relatives argued in giant Facebook threads. Mom stormed out of brunch after a comment from Aunt Lily. Dad stopped calling entirely. Rachel posted a long caption about being betrayed by people you love and got only 4 likes. Meanwhile, Daniel and I lived our lives. Quietly. Sweetly. Safely. We made pasta at midnight. Went on hikes. Played board games. Built IKEA furniture badly. Talked about moving somewhere with fewer memories and cheaper rent. 3 months later, we did. A smaller place. Fresh walls. No ghosts. We hung exactly 1 wedding photo in our kitchen. The one of us dancing under the string lights. The rows of empty chairs in the background. People who didn't know the story always asked the same thing. Isn't it sad? Daniel always answered first. No, he'd say. It's honest. And I agreed. It wasn't sad. It was the truth. The truth we survived. The Wedding 2.0. About 9 months after the original ceremony, Daniel asked me a question while we were eating tacos in our new living room. Do you want a do-over? I blinked. A do-over of what? He smiled. The wedding. I laughed. In our living room over tacos? Sure, he said. I'll get ordained online. He wasn't joking. 3 weeks later, we had a tiny evening ceremony in our backyard. String lights, fire pit, our closest friends, a taco truck parked by the fence because the owner was a fan of my video and insisted on catering for free. My dress was simple. His suit was slightly wrinkled. Jake played soft music on a portable speaker. When Daniel read his vows again, he added 1 line. I'm grateful your family didn't show up that day, because it showed us who wasn't meant to stay and who was. I cried. Everyone cried. Even Jake cried, and Jake never cries. We kissed under the lights, and this time it felt like a beginning instead of an ending. The final message. It's been almost a year now. I haven't spoken to my mother since her half apology at Christmas. Dad never reached out again. Rachel blocked me on everything. And I don't regret the video. Not for a single second. People say I exposed my family. But the truth is, I didn't expose anything. I just stopped covering for them. The real win wasn't going viral. The real win was letting go of the guilt, the burden, the years of being told to keep the peace while they gave nothing in return. Family isn't a debt. Family is supposed to be safety. And when people show you who they are, believe them the first time, not the 100th. Now, Daniel and I are happy, peaceful, building a quiet life that feels like ours. And every time I look at that wedding photo, the one with the empty chairs, I don't see abandonment. I see liberation. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close the door softly, walk away without shouting, and build a life where the people who truly love you never need to be reminded to show up.